In today's tutorial, we're going to be covering syncing, how we combine the visuals from set with the audio from set. So you have your audio here in your audio bin, you have your footage bin, and then also your synced bin. And that's where we have combined two previous takes so far. So now let's go to our audio bin. You'll see here, those are the two that we've already completed. So if you right click, you can adjust the color. I'm just going to make them green so I know, hey, these are good to go. I've done them. And the next one we're going to work on is 16 Alpha A01. So you'll see here, these are two mono tracks. The green side associates to your A1, A2 here in the clip monitor window. And so we want to go into our sync bin. We want to create a new sequence, call this 16 Alpha 01 because it matches what the waveform file says. You're going to right click, new sequence, and rename it 16 Alpha underscore 01, so 16A01. You'll see when we create the sequence, it creates a V1, an A1, and an A2. Over here in our clip window, we have our waveform. I'm going to drop that in by hitting B on the keyboard, and that brings it in. I don't have any waveform so far, so I'm going to go down the fast menu, audio data, hit waveforms. You can also go and readjust clip gain, make sure that's on there as well, and then volume. And this becomes helpful when you start manipulating the audio and adjusting levels later on. This is your track control panel where you can turn on waveforms, but you have to do this for each new sequence that you create. So in our file here, let's go ahead and find where that slate closes. It looks like this is the area. Remember, I'm hitting Control and bracket to zoom in, and then using my left and right arrows on my keyboard to go frame by frame here to find that exact point where that waveform occurs. Now, as I'm going through, you're not hearing the audio, so let's go up to Tools, and if we go to Command Palette, and then go to the tab that says Play, you're going to see the digital audio scrub, which if you drag and drop and place onto our timeline here, allows you to toggle in between hearing the audio going frame by frame versus not hearing the audio. So when it's turned on, selected like it is right there, and then I use my left and right arrows, I can hear each frame of the audio now, which makes it a lot more useful and helpful when it goes to syncing audio, but also later when you're doing dialogue editing as well. Find that slate closing sound and mark an endpoint by hitting I on your keyboard. So again, that's up by Tools, Command Palette, under the Play tab, the digital audio scrub. And again, I just grab the icon and you drag and drop it onto an open place across that toolbar in your timeline. All right, so I've marked my endpoint in here. So I have that I on your keyboard, marked it with an endpoint. Now I need to find the video I want to bring in. Remember, we're looking for 16 Alpha take 1. So that's 16.3, that's 16.7. So this is 16 Alpha take 1. And now we want to find that first frame of when the slate closes. So I'm going to use my right arrow and my left arrow to find that first frame of where I feel like it's not blurry, the slate's closed, and then I mark it with an endpoint. So if I hit B here and just drop it on into the timeline, it's going to overwrite. So it gets rid of any of the audio that's down there. So I'm going to hit Control Z. Now if I hit V on the keyboard, it splices it in, which means it makes room and just pushes all the audio down the timeline. So I'm going to hit Control Z. And what I need to do, if you recall, is you want to make sure you turn off your A1 and A2. So if you look at your keyboard, you're going to see where it says A1 and A2, and that's going to be over that 9 and 0. And so that is what we are going to utilize and click so that we turn those off. And then we can bring in our video. So turn them off. I'm jumping back up to my composer window by hitting escape. And then I'm going to hit either B or V, and that will drop it into the timeline now, because you're telling Avid, don't mess with this A1, A2, only work with this V1 track up here. I brought it down, I want to make sure that it actually syncs. So you play the front end of it, make sure it looks like it's in sync. play this tail end, make sure that it keeps the sync throughout this and you feel good with it. And then you want to roll out the front end. So you put yourself in trim mode, you know you're in trim mode by those zeros that appear, and it will jump you usually to the front. If it turns off your V1, that's fine. Hit S on your keyboard and that will take you to your next edit point. And then that will give you the dual rollers. Hit M a couple times until you get that red bracket, and that means you've run out of source material for it to roll out. So that means you're to the front of that video clip. So you have all the material down there, you have the full video file and the full audio file, and now you want to sync them together and create a subclip with them. So no longer will it open in the timeline window, you want it to now be opening in that clip window. So we'll go ahead and turn on our A1, A2. We'll go to our sync bin. We're going to select this sequence. It's going to be the last thing we highlight. You're going to go up to clip and you're going to choose auto sync. And that'll turn it into a subclip, so it will disappear from your timeline window, but now it will have a video and audio track all together in one, and it comes up into your composer window up here. So that way you can start bringing things in and start building a sequence when stuff is all synced. And then we'll turn it green, let it know that it's good to go, we did it, and now we'll move on to our next one. So this is 16 alpha take 2. They match, so we have the video and the audio file here. In our sync bin, we'll create that new sequence, 16 alpha 02. Bring up that audio file into our composer window, and I hit B on the keyboard to drop it on in. Then I'm going to hit Control 0, that will bring me down to the timeline window. I'm going to hit Control End bracket, that'll zoom me in. If I hit the space bar, that'll play. I'll use my left and right arrows to find that waveform of the slate closing. I'm going to mark it with an endpoint, and now I'm going to go find that clip that I need to bring in and match to this waveform. So I'm going to find that first frame of the slate completely closed. I usually wait till it's all clear, and that means that everything's settled, we've got the noise, and so I'll drop it on in. Again, if you just hit B or V here, it's either going to overwrite or splice. So Control Z, jump down to your timeline, turn off your A1 and A2, 9 and 0, go back up to your composer window, hit B on your keyboard, and drop it on in. Make sure it syncs at the beginning and the end of the clip. You're going to see here with the 16A versus 16 that these shots are different. So there tends to be a little bit of a push in here at this beginning for the 16A one, where with 16 we didn't have this initial camera movement. That was so much of a push in. So there's additional push-ins throughout this 16A takes. So just make sure you pay attention to that and the differences between them. So there's a reason that each of these obviously is lettered differently. And that's a key reason why, is because the setup is different. There's additional camera movements within it. Then you're going to hit U on your keyboard to put you into trim mode. Hit S on your keyboard, that'll jump you to your edit point, and then hit M until you completely roll it out. And that way you have all the data from the video and the audio files, and you're good to go. Then when you're ready to sync it, you'll go up, you'll select that sequence. Now you can wait and batch sync all of these together. You don't have to do them all individually. I've just been showing you it to repeat the steps so you see it multiple times. But otherwise, you can build all of your sequences to sync your clips together and then just do one final batch auto sync at the end. So right now we have synced all of the audio and video clips that need to be synced together. So those are all good to go. So we have them in our sync bin here. So we finished with this audio one, we're done. I'm going to right click, turn it green. Now we have in our footage bin, so this is all our raw footage here. And so you'll see this one has the exterior of the house. So I'm going to highlight all of these. I'm going to click that top one from 4. And then if I hold down Shift, I'm going to select this bottom one here. Again, you want to click on the icon itself because otherwise you can type in and change everything. So you want to make sure you're grabbing the icon. Then you're going to drag it by holding down Alt. This keeps a copy in the footage bin and then drags over a copy into your sync bin. And so you'll see now it's in here. And then you can sort just by clicking on the name. So if you resort it, obviously it's going to be out of order now in essence because I've relabeled these to have 16 as the scene number. So what we want to do is go through and relabel these so they match the slate or they tell you about what's in the scene. You're going to see for the exterior of the house, the slate is telling you is that it's MOS, which means it was shot without sound. So you have no audio file in this clip to work with. It's just strictly the video. So you can see here with the track that came in, it is just a video file, and the rest listed all have one video file and then 2 audio files as well. So if I wanted to rename this clip here, I'm just going to call it exterior house. It's easy for me to know that way. And then if we look here at the next one, this is 16B, take 2, so 16 Bravo. I'm just going to rename that accordingly. The next one, 16B, take 3. And so you just go through and rename them so they match the slate. So again, scene 16, each letter is a different setup. So that means the coverage is different or the shot is different in some capacity. And then you have your different take numbers. Reminder, I didn't give you all your take numbers here. I just gave you a variety of them to work with. Then you can go through and organize and color code your footage. So for example, here, if I turn all the master shots into a yellow, make all of Marilyn's coverage a pink or a purple, make Dante's coverage another color as well. And this way I'm just associating colors now to the characters, and that can easily help me figure out whose footage is exactly what, or based on location as well. So there's a lot of organizational steps you can do to help you easily be able to see kind of what your footage is and what you're working with.